I don't know if I would be as interested in playing this game anymore. I would probably just switch to Warzone 2 when that comes out and just play that exclusively.
When did you switch to mouse and keyboard permanently instead of controller?
For Fortnite. So that was in 2017, I think.
Oh, okay. So you're good on a mouse and keyboard now. Like,
well, it took me fucking so long because I used to love watching frag movies from like Mazzarini and those guys.
Yeah.
And like some of the old frag movies from CS 1.6. And I've just always thought that looked so much cooler than watching console people play like pro COD. But I was under the assumption that all of them used really high sensitivities because their aim was just so snappy. And I didn't find out until later that the vast majority of them use really low sensitivity, and they use their whole arm for movement and the wrist for micro adjustments. And so I was playing with like an unreasonably high sensitivity for like 2 years, and it just was not working. And then I invested in a big mouse pad, and I bought a 144 hertz monitor, and I lowered my sensitivity drastically, and then I started getting like much better. I'm not like great, but my aim is like pretty okay these days.
Oh, I'm going to attempt that then. Maybe I need to go to a much lower, because I would say I'm only using about this much of my mouse pad. I don't have a mouse pad anyway. I've got a desk where the entire top is a mouse pad, which I really like that. But no, I'm pretty decent at Tarkov, so because it's all micro adjustments for the most part. I'm not like rushing into squads or anything, so I can hold an angle.
Pretty hard to rush in that game. The footsteps are so loud.
Yes, it is. I love Tarkov. I'm looking forward to the new wipe of that. But before that happens, I think all three of us here are psyched for Dark Tide, which is the Warhammer 40K game that's coming out. And
yeah, that's going to be so much fun.
Shit, like 2 weeks or something? Oh, then the grind begins. Get all those legendary weapons. It'll take weeks and weeks.
The grind begins. There are no more issues with character choice because everyone can pick the same character if they want.
That's
Unlike Vermintide, which it made you pick like the dog shit guy if all the other three guys were already picked, which is no fun. I did not like that. I mean, you liked it because you had the Grand Poobah choice. You had the elf woman.
I have tenure. Okay, when I'm the guy in that subreddit, or not in the sub, in the Discord every fucking day. Fucking pressing the flesh. All right. I know their names.
Exact conversation the last time I was on, by the way. We definitely talked about.
Kyle's right though. Yeah, he is. We're all guests in his world. Really.
It's true. I didn't even mind the character I got forced into. I just like wanted to get a better pick in the next game. So I'm like, oh, I guess I'll be this cool looking guy with a pig on his head and a flail. But I'm not happy about it. But yeah. Oh, Kyle, you're muted. Can't hear you, bud. We lost you out of nowhere.
Oh, this is better. We can win all our arguments.
So are you guys not playing any COD? Are you done with that?
No, I haven't bought it yet. Honestly, I was like waiting for Dark Tide to come out because we've been waiting for that for a while, and I knew I would be playing that almost exclusively. The only other game I like play often, pretty much always, is Magic Arena. Yeah,
I was gonna guess. Yeah,
Magic Arena is a great game. It's a great game for great people. You know, it's a good community. I really enjoy it. Well, some of the people are awful because like they'll like fuck like you can't actually talk to your opponents in Magic, but the douchebags at Wizards of the Coast like put borderline passive aggressive emotes that you can send to people. So you can be like, someone plays something,
you just spam like the fucking
nice. And so like you like sometimes you play a card and because the UI isn't great, like it'll be like discard 7 cards because you just drew 9. And you can't because like it just isn't working right, and so your turn will time out, and you won't get your benefit, and the other guy will just be like nice, or there'll be like you fuck up a play, or they know they're about to win, and they just spam like good game at you 100 times, which I don't like. So it's a rude group of people on there.
You just touched on something for me from COD. One of the things I love, and I didn't even know it still happened. I've seen memes about how like, oh, you kids don't even know Modern Warfare 2 lobbies were real back in the day, and they showed like an audio clip of some of the ferocious shit that went down in those lobbies. Well, the people in this game are from there's a time machine. It's worse.
Is it a blast from the past.
It's worse. It is not better. It's not any better. It's so
you hear
worse.
people. You hear
everybody
people
has
in a
mics
couple
now.
instances.
So it's like racial slurs, but now in high quality.
Everybody's got mics.
And it's like 6 people doing that.
Yeah, 4K hard Rs.
The problem is we don't get enough interaction because we don't have lobbies that stay together. We disband and we all go look for people. the losers look for worse people and the winners look for better people, and like we're in a goddamn bracket over here or something.
Supposedly that is supposed to be happening less with this title, I think is what the dev said, but every game I've played is disbanded.
It's 100% disbanded. Yeah,
sure
100%. Yeah. Because I would know if anything else happened, because when we're playing Search between rounds, I'm gonna be honest, we start the shit talking, and when I say we, I mean my friends, because I can't say anything.
Hilarious.
I can't say anything. But
Search always has the most toxic shit talking because you can talk shit to each other in between rounds.
So
what do you guys say, Kyle?
Dirty, like the first thing, like as soon as they can hear us, Dirty will like find some guy's name that he takes issue with, and he'll be like, Sergeant Slaughter, more like Sergeant Faggot. We're coming for you, bitch. And it's like, whoa, that was so out of left field.
Like, whoa, it's 1-to-1.
No. We just met. Nobody has died. Nobody has pulled a gun out yet.
There's no reason to be upset at all.
Already called him the F word, like out of nowhere, and they are not surprised at all on the other team. They're coming back with
like
they got you got F bombs, we got N bombs, and they call us all like.
And then you have a bigot's arm race.
Yeah,
you just have to get more extreme.
And mutually assured degeneracy.
Yeah, exactly.
So the next round we all win and they're quiet, so we all just start spitting on them. We go. And we spit on them all through the like intermission where they can hear us, and then they beat us the next round.
They tell them to open their mouths. Open your mouth. Open your mouth.
And I'm like, it's open. It's open. It's been open. I've only got 2 kills.
So we should probably talk about skill-based matchmaking at some point. We didn't get to talk about it last time, and I wanted to.
Yes.
Because Blame Truth came on podcast and was talking shit, and I wanted the chance to respond to it, and we just never got to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like the big thing
that
like about skill-based, and I don't even play COD, so I'm a truly neutral observer. I was totally indifferent to it, and then until Kyle told me like, and sometimes like in order to get a group of people good enough, your connection gets shitty. And like if that is the case, like connection should always be prioritized over everything, I feel. Like no one's, even whether you're a noob or not, nobody's having fun with shitty ping, like missing people because of that, you know. So if it's like a prioritizing of connection, I can see that as a complaint.
That's not. I want to get my criticism in before Hutch chimes in as an expert.
Yeah.
I haven't played this COD, but I have played it with like more recently with stronger skill-based matchmaking. My issue is the people that are good, people much better than me, I no longer want them as friends. And that's the dynamic that ruins it. If I have an ace in the hole, he used to be a pleasure to play with. He's like, I don't know, he helps you win every game. It's casual. It's not so stressful. When you have an ace in the hole, it's a blast to play COD, or you get two of them. Now, if there's an ace in the hole, that means that I'm going to have a hard game. I'm not playing well because everybody's as good as my good friend. Suddenly, my good friend is persona non grata, and he doesn't like it, and I don't like it.
Mm-hmm. And I've been it's always been like that for me because all my friends are aces in the hole because I'll only be friends with you if you're better at games than me, and I'm so goddamn good. So all my friends, elite. like I've got like 3 or 4 like legitimately good friends who at one time, a couple have played like professionally a little bit. Like they're very good players at all games. They're good at clicking on shit, and they made a meme in the they were like, when Dirty gets on and Kyle says you have to leave the party now, because I kick him out. I tell him, I'm like, all right, you're here until somebody better gets on. We're running a baseball team here. You bat 250. I got a 350 hitter. He's just asleep right now. He's coming.
It's like heavy Wings of Redemption vibes, by the
way. Sure. I mean, we're here to win. We're not having fun. All right, we're here to
win. You should actively not be having fun.
You know what? You're not ranked material, homie. That's all I got to say to that.
I don't want to step out of line, but I hope your parents die in a fire.
No, a car accident. No, like it's just coincidental that it not only are like my closer friends that I've known for like 6 years, like the better players, but the alternative is often somebody I've known for 30 minutes. So, they're getting bounced out of the party, for my buddy. But I'd probably do that to Taylor too. Taylor's playing with me. He's got to go as well. I got to get this. Got to win.
Fair. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. I'm not good.
At this point, I have heard every conceivable argument against skill-based matchmaking, and they're all stupid. In my opinion.
Oh, you didn't like mine? I'm pretty convinced mine's a good one.
I don't know if you're making I don't know if you're making an argument against skill-based matchmaking or saying this is your preference, because I think those are two different things. Like if somebody says I want to be able to pub stomp, or I want to be able to play with my friends and it not be an issue, playing with my friends who are better and have it not be an issue, or if somebody says, you know, my ping suffers a little bit, I'm gonna say all those things are valid. But it's when people, and particularly content creators, leverage their social media influence to like try to get some movement going with the expectation that any of these AAA studios are going to take it out of their games. That's when I'm like, okay, this is delusional. Because these decisions that are made in terms of matchmaking parameters, and it's going to be different for each game, because like they optimize differently. Maybe they're targeting different demographics, or, you know, hardcore versus casual. That's going to be different. And if it's PvE versus PvPvE versus PvP, you know, like these things are obviously PvE doesn't factor in, but these decisions that are made on the back end by these studios are entirely data driven. They are moneyballing the fuck out of your experience with Call of Duty. And one of the things that they do, one of the things that is really integral to optimizing your playtime and player retention and their churn rate is matchmaking parameters. And all of these studios are going to tell you the same thing, because they're saying this, they're all seeing the same data. The Fall Guys, like developers have only recently started coming out and sort of somewhat talking about their reasoning behind skill-based matchmaking, because it trends on Twitter every other week. And so there's like all this pressure, and these devs, these fucking poor devs are getting harassed, like legitimately harassed, like death threats and shit like that. People are just taking it like so insanely far. And so now you have studio like Respawn coming out and making a statement like, listen, you know, we love community feedback, but we stand behind our devs. And, you know, and then you had Fall Guys in their Discord channel in June straight up said, look, we understand why experienced Fall Guys players are having a bit of a tough time during this transition, because they're not winning as much. The matches are more difficult. We can sympathize with that. But what we observed when we didn't have skill-based matchmaking was that people who played the game and just got stomped in the first round over and over and over again quit the game, uninstalled the game, and never played it again. Mm-hmm. And from the perspective of a developer, this is obviously an unacceptable outcome, especially if they can influence that in some way. Yeah. And Destiny came out with a blog a couple months ago, Bungie did, where they talked about how skill-based matchmaking, or lack thereof, was impacting their game. And like I have some questions about like some of their decision making, because they just keep going back and forth, it seems, in terms of like how they implement it, if they implement it. So even if you don't like the consequences of skill-based matchmaking for you personally, and as far as like the ping goes, listen, I'm a fucking coastal elite fucking piece of shit. I live in Los Angeles or close to it. I never have games that are above like a 35 ping ever. Like ever,
it's
ever,
rare.
Ever,
honestly, it's
ever,
rare
ever.
for like I'll have it, but some of the players will have like 200 pings sometimes, because they had to find Emilio Estevez of South America to like come and pwn me. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, he can stand against Vavity, and we've also got an Eskimo from up north who can take on Dirty. And we've got a burn victim from Georgia who'll play Kyle at low ping though. He doesn't mind at all.
If you're playing COD with like people, a mishmash of people all over the country, that's obviously going to present some difficulties when you're doing matchmaking.
Why can't can you use a VPN to like spoof your shit and like lock your region?
Yeah. In fact, a lot of content creators will lock their region to like Egypt. Yeah. And then they get these like 0.5
Is Egypt the good? Because I've been using Singapore and it doesn't help a lot.
You've been using like Japan like an idiot.
Yeah.
Singapore.
No, there's I got a thing called bot lobbies, because Vavity was talking about it I think it's more used for Warzone. I don't even know if it helps with this, but one thing I have been able to do is lock our region to like the southeast. Yeah. Like I'm not running anything through Singapore actually, or Thailand, because it just won't work. But I am locking us for this region now, so we don't have to deal with that ping anymore. But the fact that I have to pay $5 a month for a VPN to do that is a little annoying.
Yeah, that's what a lot of content creators. There's also another way you can exploit it, where you can, and this is just the nerdiest. Like I play fucking video games for a living, and this is the nerdiest shit I've ever fucking heard of in my entire life. You make a bot or an unused Call of Duty account on the same or on a different PlayStation. So let's say you got a PlayStation 4 because there's like cross-platform or whatever, and then you join you add your main account to that one, and then you join a lobby, and then you join off of your bot account, and then you the steps that some people are willing to take just so they can beat up on players that are worse than them is just mind-blowing to me.
Well, you and I both know. Well, all right, if anybody's doing that to pub stomp, you're a fucking loser. But if you're doing that to make a pub stomping video that's now going to make $750 and you're going to make another one tomorrow and the next day and the next day, then
I can understand the financial benefit of doing something like that. I just still think it's just fucking nerdy. And then like, you can't extrapolate your experience or the pressure that you feel to churn out gameplay videos. You can't turn around and then tell developers like you should specifically cater your fucking game that sold tens of millions of copies specifically for people like me, just to make my job easier as a content creator. That's absurd. That's just absurd. So like all these content creators that have launched this campaign against skill-based matchmaking, it's just so
But I don't think that's their only point. I think that they're also saying, hey, the reason I became a content creator is because I fell in love with Call of Duty. And the reason I fell in love with Call of Duty is because I used to go in there and I didn't know who I was going to face off against. I didn't know if it was going to be the best of the best or the worst of the worst. But I was bringing my A game, and every now and then, man, did I shine. And now they're like, every time I step up to the plate, it's the best of the best. They had to develop $1 billion algorithm to find players this quickly to take me on, and that's what they did. That
algorithm fucking works. It pays dividends. When you look at the top 10 most played PlayStation games, for example, on any given month, it's like the only 3 games that don't have skill-based matchmaking are games that it's not even really fucking necessary, like Rust or GTA 5, like who gives a fuck if there's skill-based matchmaking in that game, or Minecraft. And then every other fucking game, Dead by Daylight, FIFA, Apex, COD, Destiny, well, I don't know, they're kind of like back and forth on that, but like literally like the bulk of all multiplayer games now, because all the studios are doing it, they all saw the same thing. They didn't have the type of data collection abilities that they had 15 years ago. And if they had those abilities that they have now back then, it would have been in the game. I promise you that. So I don't know. One of my personal life philosophies is nostalgia is a fucking burden. Like I just don't, I don't like spending a lot of time thinking about, I like to look forward and kind of live in the present. And
that's fair. That's fair. But I still think you got to like judge what's in front of us with a, like what's going on here every now and then with the skill-based matchmaking. Everything you said's pretty much I agree with, like as far as like a company's standpoint and making the most money, like that all makes sense. Having the biggest user base, the most active user base.
They make the most money because they're making the most amount of people happy. This is the thing that I think a lot of content creators don't understand. They think that the majority opinion is that skill-based matchmaking sucks, when the reality is 95% of the people that play fucking Call of Duty have no idea what that word means. Yeah. They're like, what the fuck are you talking about? If you walked up to just random people on the street and said, hey, when you play video games, would you prefer a fair competition of somebody who's like roughly of the same skill, or would you prefer like complete blowouts? 95% of people are going to be like, I think I prefer fair. If you go to like a pickup basketball game and one team just squashes the other team, what happens in 9 out of 10 instances? They swap players around and then they make the teams more balanced and then they fucking play again. No, like very few people, except for would-be pub stompers, aspiring pub stompers, prefer blowout matches. That's just not how human beings fundamentally operate.
And I will say that, and from the content creator's perspective, the viewer wants to see blowouts too. Like they are getting feedback from their viewers that say, 30 and 14 or whatever. Like, what the fuck? I want to see an XCal style 61 and 2 double. Like,
just to be clear though, like it doesn't exactly work, because when we play, we still stomp the shit out of them. It's just that I'm getting left behind.
Same. That's the thing that I'm confused about. I'm like, it doesn't feel very strict to me. Like, there's still some matches where I get the fucking shit kicked out of me.
Someone on our team talked shit to Dirty last night because Dirty had been using pistols, and Dirty was like, he didn't do well.
United Front.
Somebody on our team gave Dirty a hard time. Like, oh, I did better than you last game. Dirty's like, well, fuck you. He killed like 70 or 80 people the next game. He apologized to the other team and they said it was okay. Like a genuine apology. It was silly. They were spawn trapped the whole game. He had 4 chopper gunners. Like, it's a shit show. Like they still shit on people. Like it's me that gets left behind. That's what I'm complaining about. So it's more for the mediocre player. He's the one stuck in the middle.
And I get that. I'm not going to tell you like you're wrong because you say you have a bad time because your games are going to be like much harder. If you have someone who has like an invisible MMR rating of 100 and they're playing with someone who's got an invisible MMR rating of 25, the game's algorithm is going to try to match you up with an average lobby that's somewhere in the middle. Yeah. So the better player is going to have like a much easier time. And the worst player is going to have a tough time. And I'm not going to tell you like, hey, you should have fun. You know, that's like, obviously, like if you have a preference where it would be looser, it's like, I understand having that preference. But if they loosened matchmaking parameters, now all of a sudden, there are a lot of people that solo queue Call of Duty. And there are a lot of bad players that solo queue Call of Duty. I think the median KD for Call of Duty is like 0.8. It's like, that's where like the bell curve is. And these people are all going to have a really shitty time if they have to play against people like me or even people like you. You say you struggle, but you would shit on a newcomer, like a newcomer to the series. And so if your argument is that, you know, I want them to loosen matchmaking so my friend who's worse than me can have a better time, but also fuck these people over here, they're going to have a much worse time. It's like you're applying one standard to your friend, or you're wanting the developer to apply one standard to your friend. And then
I want them to get out of the way of progress.
So there's much larger pool of players. It just doesn't make any fucking sense.
I'm a businessman doing business, and I see a lot of red tape between me and those noobs. That's all I'm saying. That's all I say. And they could go play it. The argument that I would love to make is like, have those casuals go play their own. Those, if you want to like play ranked, and if you want to like
that defeats the whole purpose though, because the skill-based matchmaking it exists specifically to keep casual players playing the game longer. That's why it exists. And so if you got rid of it in a casual playlist, you're defeating the entire purpose of. That's why almost every game that has casual and ranked, skill-based matchmaking is still present in casual, like for obvious reasons.
Well, like if they made it separate, wouldn't everybody, like all the good players, would just be playing each other in the non-skill based one?
Yeah, and that's the other idiotic idea that I hear. Okay, we'll just create a playlist without skill-based matchmaking. I'm like, who the fuck is going to play that?
The good people.
It's all going to be like 1.5 to 2.5 players just hoping for your easier lobbies, and it's going to be 10 times sweatier.
It's going to be like a dating app with all men. Yeah. Where all the hot babes at? I was promised.
There are just like so many like blatant contradictions in people's logic when they criticize skill-based matchmaking that it just blows my mind. I'm like, do you hear
the connection thing still resonates with me, and that like it feels like for a video game, like whatever, like if skill-based, like if the connection's the same, fine, like do the skill thing if that's what they want to do. But like you shouldn't ever get in the game with shitty connection because of this. Like it should have something built in where it's like, people are going to have more fun losing by a bit more if they're not like, I hit that guy. Oh, my gun shot 2 seconds late. Like, because when I remember the worst times I had in Call of Duty, it was that. Oh, yeah. It was connection shit. It was one bursting a guy that you were positive you hit, and then you're glitching all over the top of the map. Like
in my experience, that happens way less with the recent titles. Way less.
And I have not played COD in a long time.
Do you guys remember World at War? Do you remember how fucking laggy that shit was? Do you remember like even COD 4, like how fucking crazy laggy that shit
You remember everybody when World at War came out and like the YouTube scene and everything, everybody quit it except for Wings after about a week
and went back
out of there. The game sucked.
Everyone was like, "This sucks." There's tanks that you can't quick scope.
It was laggy as shit.
Forgot about the tanks. How did I forget that game?
That was one of the worst things.
It really depends on where you live. I read a statistic that like 85% of the United States lives kind of somewhat close to a major metropolitan area. Yeah. And if you're a part of that 15% of the country that lives in more remote areas, like I sympathize and I feel bad. But it's like they're not going to put like a fucking COD server in a 500 square mile radius where there's
I agree
not
with
that many
everything
people.
You said. Like what they're doing is making the most money. It's serving the most people the best experience possible. It's just what I should have done is kept my word the first time I refunded the game. But they tricked me but everybody was like, "No, you're gonna want those attachments for
Well,
the
you refunded
DMZ
it and then
the
bought it back.
And he lost the pre-order stuff, I think.
That's the other thing too. People treat the matchmaking system like it's like some mature Manchurian candidate shit. Like it's a predatory matchmaking system. They're manipulating you with your algorithm to play. It's like, what the fuck are you talking? They read this patent or this like there's like companies come out with 1 billion patents every year that they don't use, and so they looked at this one patent by I think like EA, and it had to do with like instead of SBMM there was a proposal to do EOMM, engagement optimized matchmaking, which is something else like entirely. But like if the game is responding to your stats in real time, so it used to be that it would go from your lifetime stats. You know, you have a KD, and once you get enough kills, it's kind of hard to change that KD. There's like a big, and so you're kind of always in that range or whatever. But that's not how human beings work. Some days you have bad days. Maybe you got a fucking headache that day. You're tired, and you just play like shit. And so what these games now do, for the most part, is they react to your stats in real time. And these people think that this is an engagement optimized matchmaking, and that the game is sending you into all these like matches that are predetermined to be the outcome. And so they're like, you have one good game, and then it throws you into 3 shitty games. It's like, well, how does that work mathematically? Because if they're doing that with everybody, are you telling me one like the math doesn't make any sense?
What is EO?
I think I know the solution. I would like to know more about how their specifically the skill-based matchmaking algorithm works. I want to know what it weighs and measures. Like, is it score per minute /KD?
They're never going to tell you.
I need to know the ratio. I need that formula. That's important.
That shit is protected information, and if it ever got out, somebody would get sued into oblivion. Because if they ever got into specifics about what they'll give you like vague stuff, like the Fall Guys example that I gave you. He said like, this is what happened when we did this and this, but they're never going to tell you like, we're measuring this and this, but they are measuring every conceivable variable you can imagine. They're imagining.
But I want to know how there can only be a handful that they're actually using, and they're going to be like weighed. I want to know what they're weighed more or less. It's going to be score per minute per player, and it's going to be KD per player, and maybe like what their KD in the previous match was. So I bet we could experiment and figure it out. I think
measuring
that maybe
how much time you spend in the menu. They're measuring how long it takes on average to get a kill. They're doing that for each map. They're measuring how long you use a certain gun. They're measuring like what your KD is with this gun versus that gun, how that impacts and they're constantly, and the other thing too is that they'll never tell you is that they constantly run A/B tests all the time without telling players. I've had developers from all kinds of studios reach out and talk to me about like the specifics, but they'll never like tell you. But like they will loosen matchmaking parameters without telling anyone. And then they look at their churn rate, they look at their quit rate, and they're like, well, it went up 15% when we loosened it that much, and
I'll tell you where
20% and we did it that much.
I'll tell you where I have like
our revenue commensurately decreased or increased as a result of that.
I have about an 85% quit rate on that map that's nothing but cars that explode.
Oh, I hate it.
Well, they have a map where there's nothing but cars that blow up.
First of all, I'm really good at it because
no, I have not.
Not many people use frag grenades, like old school frags, because there's so much cool shit. But you can fling a frag grenade, so I run those bitches and resupply, and I'm just chunking them because the whole map. Go ahead.
There's a fucking incline on both sides. So it's not like a steep incline, but there's the central portion of it's a freeway, just a 2-lane freeway. I don't know, maybe 3 lanes. I don't know what it is. And it kind of makes a point like this. And so if you're in the center, you have this kind of top advantage. You can look down a little bit, but the whole fucking map is covered in cars, and those fucking cars will blow up if you throw an aid at it. And if one blows up, all of a sudden 4 blow up, and it's just a nuclear weapon. That does not do justice to how shitty this fucking map is.
That's the part without that many cars. That's the part without that many cars.
Can all of these blow up? None of these are cover?
All right, so the big thing doesn't blow up. Yeah, the trucks, the big things. The camper doesn't blow up, and the fire truck doesn't blow up. Everything else explodes.
And you have a tiny lane right there off the right. And like that's like maybe like a 6-foot long kind of like walkway, if you can imagine, like a
we call it a tunnel,
civilian walkway. And then there's like a 1-lane thing to the right of that. So technically it's a 3-lane map, but it's just
this is where like 60% of the fighting happens, and it's awful.
It is a bottom 5.
Search and destroy on this is actually search isn't that bad, but everything else is garbage.
Search maybe is different, but can you just pre-explode your own cars? Is that a viable strategy?
It would take so long, you know. You don't have a lot of explosives. Now we wasted all of our explosims.
Yeah, the spawns might flip too. So I mean, but that's the thing. It would take a lot of grenades because there's just nothing but cars. You saw it was like 20% of the map. It's like a long stretch of just.
Oh, and they're going to blow up one way or another. Don't worry.
They fucking funded it on that map. That was like, all right, crunch time.
Can you still vote down maps?
No, there's no voting for maps. You are assigned a map, and you are assigned.
Oh my
an opponent.
God, dude, if this is okay, like there have to be more cars photoshopped into this, right?
No. You see, all right. So if you look at the very end,
this is like a prank map.
If you look at the very end where there's the bridge, that's where you spawn. Those cars back there, if you get a nade in, all like 4 of them explode. Like in a chain, 4. They're that close to the pack. So that's where I'm throwing my frags. I'm trying to get them back into there.
It is terrible. And
I bet every once in a while though, you get a real big nade that like makes this a fun map, right?
Like quads and
you get a whole kill feed.
Yippee! 3 kills. Let me go cash those in with the. What do I do with the 3 kills, Taylor? I don't care anymore.
I don't know. I'm a glass half full kind of guy.
I will say though that the rest of the core maps are actually like pretty decent. Like in terms of like initial maps, I think this is like one of the stronger ones. I didn't really love Cold War. I thought it was kind of a boring MP experience. Vanguard was like I thought Vanguard was pretty decent, but I think people just don't want to play World War II shooters.
They have a map in this game that has a lot of water. You're able to. It basically has an under the map, there's like a watery network that you can swim in a little bit, and there's multiple entry and exit points, little pools.
And they're like, these little pods that you can pop out of like a tadpole.
And you can use your pistol underwater, so he like pulls his gat out. Or you can't use your.
That is awesome though. I love being a little fucking rat on that map, and just going from hole to hole and just fucking with people.
Do you have the rat shot pistols?
I'm working on getting a Kimbo for the Glocks, but it's taking quite a while. It's like takes quite a bit to.
Like the rat shots are better. The Basilisk is way better than the Glock.
With the snake shots with the shotgun shells or whatever. And I think you can run it akimbo. Yeah.
It's akimbo snake shot revolvers, and so you can just remember the old akimbos from Modern Warfare 2. Those shotguns,
1887s.
You've got those, but they're in 5-shot 500 Smith & Wesson Magnums. Mine are gold with like long barrels, and he's just running around like this. Just
dude, one of the most fun memories I have of COD is when they hadn't quite patched those 1887s yet, and so everyone was just running around, long shotting each other, spinning. That was so much fun. They got to it
pretty quick, so there was like a golden,
real quick.
There was like a golden week there where you were just a
it wasn't that quick, Hutch. They fixed it like improperly, like it. If I recall, they fixed the gun, and then there was an attachment. Maybe it was a Kimbo. I forget what it was, where it was still broken. It stayed broken for a while.
That is, I can't, like, that's triggering my memory. Yeah. Originally, it was you could just use 1 or 2, and it would go super far. And then they patched 1, and everyone's like, just use 2. It's the same again. And then, like, that
stuck around. Modern Warfare 2 was terrible because it
remember the javelin glitch?
So long.
Yeah.
I don't remember
Here's the javelin glitch.
Oh,
you had to like look down at something and like but anyway, you triggered the javelin, and now you can sprint at full speed, but you're a walking javelin bomb.
Yeah.
But the javelin impact in Call of Duty is the biggest explosion in the game. It's far exceeds any of the like hand thrown stuff. It's much more like a predator missile than anything. So you're a walking predator.
So when
missile.
you got shot, the missile would hit the ground right away.
Instant.
Like
instant
if you got killed, it would just. And then, so it was like martyrdom times 5.
I never did that one.
I did it so much.
Oh, Modern Warfare 2 was terrible. The care package glitch ruined the game. I didn't like Rust lobbies. Some people like that as a bug, but to me, it was another thing. You could get pulled into glitch lobbies against your will. Like that was the thing that happened. And you'd like rank up super fast.
And you would get hacks. Like it would like give your character like an extra perk slot instead of a lethal grenade or whatever.
I was in a game where people had fully auto grenade launchers. So you just, and it's just shooting an endless amount of nades out of it. That game was really broken. If I recall correctly, the studio got like decimated shortly after it came out, and they couldn't repair it.
Yeah, there was a lawsuit. There was a lawsuit going on because some of the talent there, some of the developers, they sued Activision because they they alleged in court that, and I think they settled out of court, but they alleged that they were owed like multiple millions and millions of dollars in bonuses that they never got.
I can remember Hutch making a video about this on High Rise.
Yeah,
that's
maybe.
From what,
Isn't it funny how you remember the map
from like 14 years ago?
The post-launch support for that game had the potential to be like an all-time top 5 FPS, and it ended up being literally one of the worst FPSs of all time. Because
I'm glad you agree with me on that. It was one of the worst ever. So if a COD has a 1-year life cycle and that game was horribly broken for 7 or 9 months, it can't be good.
I was out of there after like 4 or 5 months. I went back to COD 4. I'm like, I'm not going to World of War. I'll just, enough people were playing COD 4.
People forget Modern Warfare 2 was the game that content creators made videos of themselves destroying it. Like, it was a funny little thing it was a little trend that went on for a week of everybody destroying their copy of Modern Warfare. Yeah. White Boy melted his on the stove, I think. FPS Russia shot his copy. And then when it was time for him to make the fucking commercial for Call of Duty, they were like, "Did you make a Call of Duty hate video?" Yeah. And I was like, "Yeah."
That game was. It was so frustrating because it was like, it's right there. The greatness is right there. All you got to do is it's literally like get rid of explosives being replenished in one-man army. And the care package glitch and Commando Pro is like out of control. Like, I like the philosophy of just making everything kind of overpowered, which is I think what they did with Modern Warfare 2 this year is like there's so many strong things.
I wasn't even going to talk about weapon balance because here's my thoughts on that. You talked about what's your idea of a fun game. What's your idea of weapon balance? Like, what do you imagine? And I don't mean you specifically. I mean like the listener. Like, when you think of like what it's like in the world of Call of Duty to exist. Like, what do you think of that? Because when I think of COD 4, what I think of, okay, we've got ARs that are good at like medium long and kind of sucked short, and that balance sort of thing. That's out the window.
COD 4? You had
that's what I want.
M16 and the MP5, and that was like it.
Well, I'm saying that's what I want, ideally. And those are the outlier, like there's like 3 guns in that game that stand out better than everything else that needed to be fixed. And they never
a little
worked.
Jug AK action.
But in this game,
the original game, and the original, you had like the AMP, you had like the shotguns, you had the ACR, you had even the SCAR, the M4. Like, I prefer, and I think Black Ops 3 did a similar kind of approach to it where it was like, fuck it, let's just make everything super strong. And I kind of prefer that because I think it gets a little mundane if you try to make everything like perfectly balanced. Or
there are definitely some shitty guns in this game, but there are a lot of really, really good guns in this game, and the time to kill is so. I would love to know what the average time to kill is because there's so many snipe. They've got They have 3 different classes of guns that kill with 1 shot to the head or neck or something like that. They've got like the marksman rifles, the sniper rifles, and the battle rifles. And it's a little
nasty. The snipers are fucking nasty in this game. They're gross.
With the canted laser, the thing where you don't even aim down sights, you just sort of do this to the gun. This is your aim down sights. What they did with the realism mode in Modern Warfare 2019, it was like their version of hardcore, where like when you ADS'd, it would like show you a laser instead. I don't like that attachment. I can't really. I've seen some people tear it up with it, but I'm not very good with that attachment. I need like a red dot or iron. I use it on an AR, and I like it. I like just dragging the recoil out of it, and it's fun to use. I'm pretty good with that. But I've seen people use it with a sniper, and you're just clicking on people now. There's no scope. There's no sight of any kind. You're just able to like die.
It's like the Car 90. It's like the Car 98 unscoped from COD 2. Like the sniping in this game feels really similar to COD 2, which is awesome for me. But it's kind of annoying because like there are a lot of people running around with snipers in this game. So I do think they need to be like maybe like a little bit nerfed. Like the ADS speed is pretty intense. It's like faster
with the weapon tuning. It's faster than the SMGs.
Even without the weapon tuning, it's like instant ADS. And that's the other thing too, is they slowed this game down quite a bit. So like the movement is obviously slower. They got rid of bunny hopping and slide canceling, which I support. Like I mean, bunny hopping I think was less annoying, but the slide canceling stuff, it was just your hands would hurt just doing that shit constantly.
It's too much.
And what they really slowed down in this game was the ADS speed. Like the ADS speed in this game is like real bad. And they also added a ton of idle sway. So like the aiming stability stat on these attachments becomes super important because that idle sway, that really exaggerated idle sway is like extra recoil because it continues as you're shooting. So you have to compensate for this bobbing gun like this. And so, and it's so nonsensical because the attachments, a lot of the attachments that help you with recoil in this game add to your idle sway. So it's like they made some, I think, questionable decisions when it came to
they're going to fix the attachments. They're broken. Like it's almost always better. All right. A naked gun is really strong, and it's often going to be stronger than the nonsense that someone who didn't actually pay attention to what they're doing and build a good gun would build. If you just put a bunch of good attachments on a gun, my naked gun is way better.
Yeah, you could all of a sudden your sprint out speed and your ADS speed is super slow, and you're just getting
sprint to fire and ADS are what it's all about.
Sprint to fire in this game is actually, I was surprised to learn faster than in Modern Warfare 2019. It's the ADS speed and the aiming stability that's just, and the sprint to fire speed, which are super slow. But anyways, I wanted to say one more thing, and then then I can lay this to rest. But when Blame Truth came on here, he